Porsche's heritage is born in racing, its DNA forged on the track, where a passion for engineering and perfection can be tested, and where split seconds can be measured. But there is more to the driving experience than pure speed. There are other needs, like luxury. And what is luxury but the best in design and materials, built with exacting standards? That's what Porsche has always stood for. When you combine sports and luxury, the trap would be to let go of one to achieve the other. But then it wouldn't be a Porsche, now would it? Porsche means there will be no compromises, no ordinary experiences. Luxury or performance? Style over substance? Subtlety or bravado? With a Porsche, there is no need to choose, and there is no substitute. This is where luxury lives. Why not a car that delivers the performance of the track all the way to the red carpet, where luxury is on public display? For those who want it. Introducing the Porsche Macan, the latest sports car to join our family. How would you define luxury? Well, for some it might be a gentleman in a tuxedo. Others might say fine jewelry, or that experience you have at a beautiful restaurant. Well, for Porsche, they're defining luxury with their interiors, and this one is second to none. The first thing I notice when I get into the Macan is the aroma. It's a fantastic smell of leather. And then of course the rest of the interior, pure Porsche. From the raised center console with all of your comfort and control features, to the 3 binnacle gauge cluster, and of course the 918 inspired steering wheel. And the most important feature that you remember always in a Porsche is the left-handed ignition key. It dates back to Porsche's racing heritage, when their drivers would jump into the car from a running start the car with the left, shift with the right, and get that split-second advantage over its competition. And whether it's a race car or a road car, Porsche is always looking to stay one step ahead. But did they do it with the Macan? Now, most people seem to believe that the Macan is a baby brother to the Cayenne. I disagree. The Macan doesn't sit high up like a Cayenne. It is more like a Panamera in the way that it rides, and more like a 911 in the way that it drives. And don't confuse the Macan with an Audi Q5. What actually is so surprising is how different they are, not how similar they are. The Porsche has a different suspension, a different transmission, and of course, a different engine. These engines, all Porsche, not borrowed from the VW group. And when it comes to those engines, you have 2 models to choose from, the Macan S and the Macan Turbo. So let's break it down. The Macan S, 3 liters, the Turbo, 3.6. Macan S, 340 horsepower, the Turbo, 400 horsepower, the fastest compact luxury SUV on the market. But let's not forget, this is the 21st century, and engines are not judged solely on performance numbers, 0 to 60, horsepower, yada yada. They're judged on something called efficiency. And to be efficient, well, you need engineering. And that's what Porsche does best. Now, this is the piece of technology that those engineers over at Porsche are probably the most proud about. It's something they call VarioCam. VarioCam takes the intake and exhaust camshafts, and I'm sure I've lost you already. The bottom line is, when you need instant acceleration, it's there for you right away, while still maintaining fuel efficiency. And the best part is, it's standard on both the Macan S and the Macan Turbo. Gotta love that. Standard equipment, kind of like being free. The Macan comes with a Bose stereo sound system, 11 loudspeakers and 235 watts of power. Of course, it comes with MP3 and iPod connectivity, satellite radio, and an optional 6-disc CD changer for those of you who are still using discs. And if anybody out there still wants to use their cassettes or 8-tracks, well, that's not an option on the checklist. I guess it would be this way then, wouldn't it? Or cross X, not on the list. As expected for a Porsche, it has the latest technology gizmos. The Macan has 5 cameras around the car, constantly monitoring the conditions, including those white lines that go down the center of the highway. Well, if I tend to drift over, it will bring me back into the lane. And I get a little shimmy on the steering wheel to let me know what's happening. Lane change assist. Little yellow lights up here to let me know that there's somebody in my blind spot. And sure enough, there he is. The force is strong in this vehicle, Obi-Wan. The Macan comes standard with Porsche's 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. It's called the Porsche Doppelkling, for short, it's called the PDK transmission. And you operate it using your paddle shifters off of your steering wheel, or you can use the gear shift by putting it over in a manual and downshifting. And it's quick. I mean, the RPM gauge just goes like that. Porsche says it's measured in milliseconds. How do you measure a millisecond? Millisecond, like that. Or maybe it's a blink of an eye, like. The designers at Porsche wanted to give the Macan a beautiful look. They did this by pulling cues from other Porsches. The long nose of a 911, the aggressive and menacing grille from a Cayenne Turbo, the side blades and 3-dimensional taillights from the 918 supercar. When you put this all together, you get an SUV with a low and aggressive stance. Well, we know it's luxurious, and it is a sports utility vehicle. But is it a sports car? Is it a Porsche? Well, we're about to find out. Now the real test begins. Sport mode, check. Air conditioner, check. First thing I notice is the way it handles around these curves. It doesn't throw you back and forth like you would expect a SUV to do, but it handles much more like a 911. I am trying to get this Macan to lose its rear end around these corners, and it doesn't want to. I mean, it's pretty easy to drive this car around a track. It almost drives itself. And I can really feel the safety in this car, from the brakes to the seating position to, most importantly, the stability that you get out of this car when you go around corners. Even when I brake late, it still keeps its stability into a turn. I don't get any kind of rear end sway or shake in the steering wheel. When you compare this Macan to other cars in its class, its performance numbers will outperform anything else. And that's what really allows the Macan to bridge the gap between a luxury car and a sports car. Porsche loves their acronyms, and one of them is PASM, Porsche's Active Suspension Management System. What that does is it dampens each of the 4 corners of shock absorbers depending on the driving style and situation you need. Now, that really helps the everyday driver, not just the track driver here like me, because I could have a luxury drive, or I could get into a more aggressive driving style if I'm going on, say, maybe a mountain road. In addition to all the other safety technology that's bred from its racing heritage, comes one other. Porsche's Torque Vectoring System, or PTV. That's another one of their acronyms. It really shows up here when I go through the slalom, because it's applying moderate braking to the outside wheel and then transversely to the other side wheel as I'm going through the slalom. That's particularly important if I'm ever in an emergency driving situation and I have to keep this car controlled and stable. So all this racing technology, it actually helps in the real world. So there you have it, the new Porsche Macan. Equally as luxurious as it is sporty. And with any Porsche, it can be optioned exactly as you want it. I chose the sport option, complete with helmet hair. But don't wait too long, because everybody seems to want one of these, including the guys at the track. So get down to Walter's Porsche and grab yours today before they're all gone. Hey, come back here.